Good afternoon. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Community Development and Regulatory Services Committee for today, April 18th. I've been joined by council members Warsami, Fry, and Quincy, which is a quorum of this committee. Our agenda has a number of consent items on it, including the regular liquor business and gambling licenses, the contract for the Upper Harbor Terminal exclusive development rights, a contract amendment option with United Properties, accepting some TOD grant applications as well as deed grant applications, approving our Great Streets Business Support grants, approving a reinstatement of a rental license. So all of those items I am going to move forward, as well as item number 22, which is setting a public hearing for Sunday sales. I do have a couple of amendments. Mr. Wilson, on item 15.
Madam Chair, we have an address correction on one item in that separate license agenda. It's on page 8 of that agenda, item 36. There's an incorrect address listed for the tenant restaurant. The agenda lists 4300 Upton. It's actually 4300 Bryant Avenue South.
So Mr. Wilson has amended item number 15. I'll also add a very brief amendment to, item number 17, the contract amendment with the option agreement. I'm just going to move that we also have a report back in committee on November 13th at the regularly scheduled CD meeting as to potential progress in advance of potentially not moving forward on December 31st. Moving forward or not on December 31st, we'd like an update by the November 13th meeting. So I'll move the consent agenda. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on item number 17, assuming we do have a report back by November, does that give us the ability to alter the contract before December 31st? Okay.
Councilmember Fry, the intent is to have a sense of what's happening 6 weeks before the contract basically expires, rather than waiting till the contract expires and then going into another 3 months of discussing it.
Right. I guess my question would be, if we know ahead of time how it's going. However, if we haven't taken any action prior to December 31st, which is when the contract expires, then we wouldn't have the ability to take action prior to the end of the year and term.
Right. That's why I'm asking them to come back on the 13th to tell
and we
us
can
where
take
they're
an action
at.
then.
We can take an action then or in the next cycle before the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you.
So on the consent agenda, items 15 through 22, are there further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items are approved. We'll then move to our public hearing agenda. There are a series of land sales, starting with item number 1. Mr. Ramadan, welcome.
Madam Chair, council members, we've got quite a few land sales, as you can see here today. Also, we'll start right away with item number 1, which is the sale of 643 Quincy Street Northeast. The staff recommends the sale of 643 Quincy Northeast to Whitney Evervold and Benjamin Braun for its appraised value of $145,000 subject to conditions. The staff has marketed and received 2 applications in accordance with the vacant house recycling program, now called Minneapolis Homes. Manuel Wilson Molina, the other applicant, withdrew his application to focus on new construction. Acquired on September 7th, 2016, from Hennepin County as tax forfeited land for $100,000. The project was constructed in 1920 on his 1,728 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, single-family home. The applicant intends to rehabilitate it as a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, single-family home to be sold exclusively to owner-occupants, and proposes to invest $261,000 to the rehabilitation of this property. CPET's construction management staff reviewed and found all the information to be sufficient to meet the minimum rehabilitation standards. 2 open houses were held in December 2016, and notification was sent to a listserv of over 1,200. Notification was also provided to the St. Anthony East Neighborhood Association, which unanimously approved this particular applicant's proposal. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan on item number 1? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 1, which is a land sale at 643 Quincy Street Northeast to Whitney Evervold and Benjamin Braun. Are either of them here today?
These are new people to me, so I'm not sure either.
Okay, just want to see if anyone was here. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of item number 1.
Item number 1 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. On to item number 2, Mr. Ramadan.
Item number 2, the sale of 1706 3rd Street Northeast. Again, staff recommends the sale of 1706 North Street Northeast to Northeast Minneapolis Properties LLC, another new applicant, for its appraised value of $40,000 subject to conditions. The staff marketed, and we received actually 4 applications for this property. However, Elizabeth Sybet and JC Investments withdrew their offers in order to focus on other proposals, and Wilson Molina withdrew his offer to focus on both the properties that he's already working with, as well as to focus on entering into new construction. This property was acquired on September 7th, 2016 for $19,000. It was constructed in 1900 and is a 2,082 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home. The applicant intends to rehab it as a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, single-family home to be sold exclusively to owner occupants. And he intends to invest $197,350 to rehabilitate this property. We found it met the scope of work in all standards. 2 open houses were held, and notification was provided to the Bottineau Neighborhood Association, which approved this applicant's proposal because of their experience in the neighborhood. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan on item number 2? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 2, which is a land sale at 1706 3rd Street Northeast. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of this item.
Approval has been moved of item number 2. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 3. Mr. Ramadan.
Item number 3, the sale of 2227 Grand Street Northeast. Staff is recommending the sale of 2227 Grand Street Northeast to David Moore for its appraised value of $40,000 subject to conditions, and if Mr. Moore fails to close, to be sold to Paula and Jack Anderson for $40,000 subject to conditions. We marketed and we received 11 applications for this particular property. It was acquired June 22nd, 2016 from Hennepin County as tax forfeited land for $1. Constructed in 1910. It's a 2,106 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home. The applicant intends to rehabilitate it as a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home to live in it as the owner occupant. He proposes to invest $213,000 into the rehabilitation. Our construction management staff found it to be meet all basic standards for rehabilitation. 2 open houses were held in December. We sent out to over 1,200 people, and now our list, I should just mention, is over 1,600 people now. Bottineau Neighborhood Association, which actually recommended Paula Anderson application, who would be investing $141,350 to rehab the house to live in, for her son to live in as the owner occupant. However, the staff felt that David Moore's proposal was stronger in the scope of work and also as an actual, truly in all ways, owner applicant. We recommended that application with Paula Anderson to be the alternate purchaser.
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan on item number 3? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open up the public hearing on item number 3, which is a land sale at 2227 Grand Street Northeast to David Moore. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Wait, you got to come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
I'm Paula Anderson, and I've been in contact with Matthew. He's been fabulous. And I'm just curious, he said there's different criteria that you go through and different things that are prioritized, such as a teacher, a homeowner, that type of thing. And I'm just curious, how I came to be the alternate, my son and I, as opposed to this other person.
So we don't answer questions in a public hearing.
Oh,
You can
okay.
make a statement and talk to Mr. Ramadan, who it sounds like you've already talked to, and he can explain the process.
Well, I do have some
criteria.
concerns going over the proposal. I've been a real estate agent for 20 years, and I've done 4 homes in Minneapolis just last year. And some of the numbers that are presented in his proposal just seem quite high. For example, he says he's going to spend $6,500 on appliances. I've purchased stainless steel appliances in all my homes. I've never spent over $2,500. He has $12,500 for an electric panel. I just replaced an electric panel for $1,250. The furnace, he has listed he'll spend $11,600. I just bought a new furnace in a Robbinsdale home, 94% efficient through Hoffman Heating for $4,600. So, and the windows at $14,500. My daughter works for Pella, and she says, Mom, there's no way you could spend that much on windows unless you're like an Edina person or something. So I feel like my numbers have been very accurate based on my experience in Minneapolis, and it just appears to me that these are so overinflated. If you actually spent that kind of money, I mean, your value just doesn't balance out. So my concern is that, you know, I just don't know if those numbers are valid. And if you're looking at, oh, this person's going to spend $213,000 in the house, this one's going to spend $150,000, you automatically in your head probably think that the home's going to be much nicer. So that's my concern. Also, my son is going to school as a teacher, and I was told that was a priority. And he is teaching currently, and he will be a homeowner. I'm just trying to be a co-occupant with him because he has a ton of student debt, and there's no way he'd be able to qualify on his own. So.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. I'd urge you to talk to Mr. Ramadan after he's completed with his report. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Mr. Moore, okay, you have to come up to the front. Why don't you go ahead and state your name and address for the record?
David Moore, and say address.
Sure.
I'm currently renting at 2215 Garfield Avenue South, Minneapolis. First of all, I just wanted to thank the city of Minneapolis for allowing me to speak today on behalf of my application for the purchase of 2227 Grand property in Botno neighborhood. Several months ago, I had an opportunity to walk the property and didn't really know what to expect, but after I walked through, I knew that this is a home that I wanted to occupy. I kind of have a long letter here, but maybe I'll just paraphrase. You know, I've been in construction for about 12 years, both in the field and in construction project management. I'm currently working for Ryan Companies as a project manager in healthcare construction. And I've also done residential rehabilitation projects in my past life too as well. So speaking to the numbers that Paula had mentioned, you know, normally it's something where you don't want to come into a project with low numbers thinking that it's not going to work out. You know, you want to make sure you have a good, concise plan with reasonable, realistic numbers to make sure that you're not going over budget. That's typically how I approach all my projects. So I just wanted to kind of speak to that. I guess if given the opportunity, I'm really excited about the neighborhood. I have a sister that's living in the Beltrami neighborhood. So it's kind of nice to be close to family. I also work downtown, so it's close by home, or close by work for me, so that's kind of nice. And I've also started to kind of get to know some people in the neighborhood. And I'm actually going to be attending the cleanup at the Gluck Riverside Park, Botno neighborhood cleanup that's going to be happening on the 29th. So I'm starting to kind of do things to get involved in the community as well. So I guess that's all I had. Any questions for me?
Nope, we don't take any questions, but thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak to this issue? Any of the other 11 people that didn't get this lot want to speak? Nope. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will move approval of this item.
Okay, item number 3 has been moved for approval. The staff recommendation, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 4, which is a land sale. Mr. Ramadan.
Madam Chair, council members, 2630 Morgan Avenue North. Staff recommends the sale to Ideal Development Group for its appraised value of $5,000 subject to conditions. And if Ideal Development fails to close, to be sold to Susan Lovejoy and Jamez Staples for $5,000 subject to conditions. The staff marketing, we received 9 applications for this particular property. It was acquired on August the 24th, 2016 from Hennepin County as tax forfeited land for $1. It was constructed in 1929 as a 2,420 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home. The applicant intends to rehabilitate as a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, single-family home for a pre-approved buyer to live in as the owner occupant. Applicant proposes to invest $139,640 to rehabilitate the property. CPED's construction management staff confirmed that it does meet minimum rehabilitation standards. There were 2 open houses held in December, and notification was sent to a list of over 1,200. Notification was also sent to the Jordan Area Community Council, which recommended Ideal Development Group without recommending any others. Are there any questions?
So, Mr. Ramadan, I have a question about this. I also understand there's a larger investment being made in the house here, but I get a little bit, I'm interested in your concept of pre-approved buyer. How do we guarantee, everyone knows now we want it to be home ownership.
Well, actually, in this particular case, the buyer was a co-applicant, but because his financing was only for the end use, for the final mortgage of the house and not for the construction financing, we felt it was more appropriate that he be separated from the developer, that the developer, and we've been working with both, and both of them submitted applications together. But we just separated it out because he was not approved for the construction financing.
So the owner of Ideal Development is also going to be the person who lives here?
No, the owner of the Ideal Development is acting as the developer for the pre-approved buyer, for Mr. Caldwell, Kenneth Caldwell.
Okay, so what kind of guarantee do we have that the end person will, it's not just in this one, there's several others that are being sold to corporations that they say it's going to go to a homeowner. How do we guarantee that?
We have no guarantee except for the fact that if they don't go through, we have a second alternate purchaser, but we have no guarantee that you can hold a pre-approved buyer to anything. They may have, in some cases, I don't believe we have it in this case, where they have put substantial money down, but in this case, that's not the case.
So, I mean, just using the last case as an example, the young man stood up and said, I'm going to live there, and I believe him. I have no reason not to believe him, but he could be a flipper, and he could just turn around and sell it or rent it. And the second person who came in said, well, I was going to help my son live there. If we're using ownership as a method for making a determination, how do we guarantee it's actually home ownership?
In that scenario, if a person decided not to live in the house after they had been approved, we would not follow through with the contract with them as it stands, because that's one of the conditions of the contract. And in fact, we do have a number of people who have said they wanted to change their mind, and we've ended up saying, look, we'll just cancel the contract in that case.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Please help bail me out.
Good afternoon, Alfred, Board Manager of Residential and Real Estate Development. About 6 months ago, we approached this committee about trying to address this issue. And what came out of those discussions was our implementing a program that provided down payment and closing cost assistance, $5,000 to the end buyer, so that there was a medium for us to ensure that the end buyer is in fact owner occupant. So that program is already in place. In this situation, the end buyer has an opportunity to access those resources to ensure that that home remains affordable. Remains in an ownership capacity for 5 years.
Okay. Does that satisfy anyone's questions? Go ahead, Councilmember Fry. Mr. Porth.
Sorry.
Councilmember Fry.
Is there a deadline by which the sale has to be solidified to the end homesteader?
There isn't a deadline for the sale to. There is the redevelopment agreement affords the developer to complete the rehab in a 12-month period. So upon completion, the sale of that property then is sold to moves to the end buyer.
After it's built. Or rehab. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for answering that question. So we're on item number 4. Are there other questions on item number 4? Seeing none?
One other point, we do have the developer here today, and I've had a chance to meet with both the developer and the in-home buyer in this particular case.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Great. We'll open the public hearing on item number 4, which is a land sale at 2630 Morgan Avenue North to Ideal Development. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Who's the Ideal Development person? Come on up.
How's it going, Madam Chair?
Pretty good.
Thank you for this great opportunity. I personally have a background in North Minneapolis. I both live and reside there as well as my business. I personally see this as a great opportunity for Kenneth Caldwell, the final owner occupant of this location. Currently, he's employed at a local school in North Minneapolis, as well as an art instructor for youth over the weekends and evenings, besides his work. At the time this proposal came out, he was looking for additional properties elsewhere in North Minneapolis. That is where I saw the opportunity to reach out and inform him on this development. I personally believe he will be a valuable asset for this community as well as the block in which he resides. I, as a friend and business partner and some other means, expect a very well developed project coming out of this.
Great, well, thank you. And just to be clear, when there's lots of competition for lots, it's incumbent upon us, especially in North Minneapolis, to try to assure home ownership.
Absolutely.
It's what the
Absolutely.
community is telling us to do. And so we're not trying to
Absolutely.
pick on your client as much as guarantee it doesn't become another rental.
Absolutely. And I fully support that as well, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your work. I happily move approval of this item.
Item number 4 has been moved. The staff recommendation. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 5. Mr. Ramadan.
Item number 5, Madam Chair, council members, is the sale of 2958 Logan Avenue North to JC Investments for the appraised value of $38,000 subject to conditions. We marketed this and received 2 applications. The other applicant wasn't, again, Mr. Wilson Molina, who withdrew his application to focus on his current projects and for new construction. We acquired this property on August 24, 2016 from Hennepin County as tax forfeited land for $1. It was constructed in 1929 as a 1,736 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home. The applicant intends to rehabilitate it as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home to be sold exclusively to owner occupants. This applicant proposes to invest $152,100 to rehabilitate the property. Our construction management staff did review and found it to be sufficient to meet our standards. There were 2 open houses held again in December. Notification was provided to the Jordan Area Community Council, which initially recommended Wilson Molina, but when he withdrew, switched the recommendation to JC Investments.
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan on item number 5? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item 5, which is a land sale at 2958 Logan Avenue North to JC Investments. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move approval of this item.
Approval of item number 5 has been moved. Further comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. On to item number 6, Mr. Ramadan.
Item number 6 is probably the only one we had this time that was not absolutely new, but they're relatively new to our program, and that is 3534 Fremont Avenue North to CTW Group for its reappraised value of $1,000 subject to conditions. We marketed this property over several months. We did receive 2 applications. The other application was Wilson Molina. It was acquired on October 23rd, 2015 from Hennepin County as tax forfeited land for $3,500 originally. It was constructed in 1906 as a 1,998 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home. The applicant, CTW Group, intends to rehabilitate it as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home to be retained as a rental property. The applicant proposes to invest $112,400 to rehabilitate the property. Our construction management staff did review the application and found it sufficient to meet our construction standards. The 2 open houses, again, were held in December, and notification was provided to the Jordan Area Community Council, which initially recommended Wilson Molina because of home ownership, but with his withdrawal, we only had 1 application, and that is CTW Group. We do have someone here from CTW Group also here today.
Okay, this is a public hearing on item number 6, which is a land sale at 3534 Fremont Avenue North. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Who's here from the CTW Group? Hi. Why can't you sell this house for home ownership? Come on up.
Yeah.
Why do you want to have another rental property in North Minneapolis?
We can't, could you please repeat, please?
You're going to purchase this building and rehab it, correct?
Yes, correct.
Why wouldn't you sell this then to a homeowner?
We can sell to the homeowner, but I have to talk to my boss because he's not here, unfortunately. I'm first time here, but I'm representing CTW Group. We're new, but hopefully we're very proud to participate in your program. And but we're professional developers. We're a professional real estate investment company and construction company. So we got all license, and it's not our first project. We did a lot of projects in North Minneapolis.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ramadan, did you check out what houses they already own in North Minneapolis?
Yes, we have, and we found no problems with through regulatory services.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll check that out myself. Thank
All
you.
right.
Are there other questions with regard to this land sale? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll move approval.
Approval of item number, 6 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. On to item number 7, Mr. Ramadan.
My final item for today, Madam Chair, council members, is the sale of 3718 Fremont Avenue North to JC Investments for its appraised value of $5,000 subject to conditions. The staff marketed. We did receive 3 applications for this one. Again, we have Wilson Molina, CTW Group, and JC Investments. We acquired this property on April 14, 2016 from Hennepin County for $5,000. It was constructed in 1907 as a 1,210 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, single-family home. JC Investments intends to rehabilitate it as a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-family home to be sold exclusively to owner occupants, and proposes to invest $112,700 to rehabilitate the property. Our construction management staff did review and found it to meet minimum construction standards. The 2 open houses, again, were held in December. And the notification provided to the Jordan Area Community Council, which again recommended Wilson Molina, but moved its recommendation to JC Investments and did not recommend C2W because of its being a rental. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 7, which is a land sale at 3718 Fremont Avenue North. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of this item.
Approval of item number 7 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 8. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have an application by Grand Cafe LLC, doing business as the Grand Cafe at 3804 Grand Avenue South. This location was previously licensed by the Grand Bakery and the Grand Cafe prior to 1997. The applicant is applying as a new proprietor for the Grand Cafe and is requesting an upgrade in entertainment to a Class C2. And this is again at 3804 Grand Avenue South. This is in the Kingfield neighborhood in Ward 8. This restaurant has seating for 55 persons inside and exterior seating for 16 persons. The applicant, Grand Cafe LLC, is a registered Minnesota corporation. Principal owners are Jamie and Dennis Malone. This application is an upgrade in entertainment from the previous applicant, and thus we need a public hearing. The entertainment level that they are seeking is Class C2, which allows 3 acoustic musicians, indoors only. We notified all property owners and residents within 600 feet of the restaurant. We also notified the Kingfield neighborhood and the Lindale Business Association. We received 4 responses to that notification. 2 were in support of the application and 2 oppose. Those that were in opposition to the application were worried about dumping glass, recycling, et cetera, too late or too early. And that was apparently a problem with the previous owner. And the other one feared that there would be outdoor entertainment, and that's not the case with this application. Staff has reviewed all of the requirements and reviewed the application carefully, and we find that it meets all of our requirements, and staff recommendation is to approve the application.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 8? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 8, which is a new business license for the Grand Cafe, doing business as the Grand Cafe. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Who's here from the Grand Cafe? Come on up. We can't quite help but give you a little advertisement. It's great.
I'm Jamie Malone. Yeah, we're just really excited to be in the neighborhood. The license, the upgrade we're applying for is for Cornbread Harris. He's been playing there for years. Just a really sweet trio. They play Sundays from 6 to 8. So
Thank you so much for doing another business in Minneapolis. We
Thank
very much
you.
appreciate it.
thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're excited to have your work and investment and happily move approval of this item.
Item number 8 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 9. Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, we have an application by J&C Enterprises LLC, doing business as the Fire Roast Cafe at 3800 37th Avenue South. They are seeking an on-sale wine with strong beer license, Class E. This location has been a restaurant since August of 2000. It's in the Howe neighborhood in the 12th Ward. It's a relatively small restaurant. They have interior seating for 26 persons and exterior patio seating for 19 persons. They intend to be open from 6:30 to 9 a.m. during the week and until 10 p.m. on the weekends. The applicant is a Minnesota corporation owned exclusively by Jeffrey Fisher. Public hearing is required for this application, and we notified all residents and property owners within 600 feet of today's public hearing. We also notified the Longfellow Community Council and the Longfellow Business Association. We received 10 responses from that notification process. 8 are in support and 2 were opposed. The 2 were opposed were afraid of outside noise, music, parking, customer noise, etc. Staff finds that this application meets all of our requirements and are recommending approval.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wilson on item number 9? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 9. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Is Mr. Fisher here? Come on up. From restaurant owner to public speaker, everyone gets a chance.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, council members. I just really want to say that I'm excited to have the city of Minneapolis help us and work with us on this application. We're very excited to continue the effort that we do to kind of serve our community and build that community. And I'm an owner operator, and I just want you to know that as an owner operator, I'm there to be to make sure that we are a good neighbor to those who live around us. And I look forward to serving.
Congratulations to you.
Great. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Madam Chair, thank you. I'm a neighbor, and
Could you say your name and address?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My name is Quinn Tierney. I live at 3652 39th, and I'm a frequent flyer at Jeff's Coffee Shop. And I just wanted to say that an amenity like this really adds a lot to our neighborhood. We've done it before, even though there were parking issues. And it's now become a little destination area in the city, and one of the charms that people look for when they come to visit. So I highly recommend this proposal.
Oh, that was so nice of you to come down. Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of this item.
Item number 9 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 10. Mr. Wilson.
Madam Chair, we have an application for a new business